Taylor Elwood here with Sovereign Submission, and today I am interviewing Mischa Byruck. Mischa, hopefully I got your last name correct. But go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do out there in the world of men's work.
Sure. My name is Mischa Byruck.
Byruck.
Um, it's good. Don't worry about it. It's a weird word. It's actually a made up word. It's Baruch, which is or the same root as Barak or Baraka. It's blessed is the
Okay.
word. Um, and uh, I'm based in Oakland, California, and I'm an accountability and integrity coach for men. So I also am a leader with Sacred Sons. I facilitate shadow work and mythopoetic men's work in groups, in person. But the thing that actually pays the bills is really, really deep, customized one-on-one coaching engagements with men who are often very powerful, charismatic, often leaders, artists, performers, etc., who want to use their worst mistakes as the catalysts for their transformation. So this is oftentimes people who have been called out or canceled or are experiencing some big conflict, often in relationship, often with women, um, and who are genuinely committed to understanding all of it better. And so that is that's my niche in this big world of men's coaching. That's it.
That's a pretty significant niche.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I have observed about men's work, and this is good, is that, it is focused around the healing of men and healing their own wounds. But I think that one of the things that I don't always see owned as much as it could be is how men in their woundedness also end up going out into the world and wounding others.
Mm.
And
Ah, they do.
how do we take responsibility for that? And I say this as a man who has definitely done that. I mean, yes, did I have stuff happen to me? Definitely. Have I also happened to other people? Have I harmed other people? Yes. At the end of the day, flat out, yes. And for a long
Hmm.
time, I didn't take responsibility for it.
Hmm.
But I think that as I continue to go on this journey of men's work, the question that I've started asking more and more is, okay, what does it mean for me to be doing this work if I'm only doing it around myself? Like, am I really serving the world?
Hmm. Hmm. Where have you come out?
Where I'm coming out, I mean, I'll put it this way, 2026 is my year of curious embodied integrity.
Mm.
So where I'm coming out is, among other things, how do I change the patterns in my life so that as I continually move forward, I am definitely a different man. So that means, for example, having the hard conversations that in the past I would have avoided having and allowing things to come out sideways in my life. It means also, yes, taking responsibility, speaking to some of the experiences and the things that happened where I did stuff that harmed other people and saying like, yes, I'm doing this work and this is how I'm doing this to also rectify this. I can't change what happened. I can't make it right, but what I can do is I can be a better man moving forward.
Hmm. And so it's always wonderful and inspiring to me to see people reaching for the path of integrity, uh, and the path of, yeah, you could call it the moral path or the righteous path. But fu fundamentally, what you talked about is that word integrity, and the harm that we do to people is I I often I often invite my clients to think of harm less as the moral arbiter of their life, right? Someone saying, "Hey, you've harmed me," as the end all be all God's voice of both what is true in the world, which is that you've done harm, and also inevitably that you're a bad man as a result, but rather to think of the harm that they've done as a signal, maybe a big signal. If it's like a big divorce or they're getting sued, it's like the signal is really loud. Like maybe there's something for you to examine in your own integrity. maybe there's some, right? Like this is a clue. There are sometimes ish times where someone will get mad at me and I'm not out of integrity. They might be upset. They might even be hurt. There are some very few instances where I'm not out of integrity and someone feels genuinely harmed by me. Like that's actually possible, right? But the right, the universe is, and I believe in God, but the universe is generally indifferent. Like morality is invented, right? Which means that it's up to us, especially as men who might hold power. I mean, all of us hold some level of power, and especially as men, we hold gendered power in this society. If we're like charismatic or have white privilege or have inherited wealth or are financially successful or fucking have an American citizenship, there's a privilege, right? Like are holding all these levels of power. That's just responsibility. And what that means is that it's all that power is an invitation to like check in with your own integrity and be like, oh, do I care about harming people? Do I like even if I never got in trouble, even if she never got mad at me, would I have cared about what I did? Or is it just that I'm like trying to weave my way through the universe and not get in trouble? Like so long as I do like it doesn't matter to me if I do messed up shit, if I like break my word, right? Or like or act really cruelly or hurt people. It's like that's actually not important to me. What's important to me is that like I don't experience the discomfort of other people being mad at me. I don't experience the reputational damage of other people talking trash about me. I just stay out of trouble. And like a lot in our society and a lot of the ways that we bring young people up and young boys especially is that the lesson is just stay out of trouble. Like
Yeah.
don't do, you know? Anyway, so
No,
that's part of
that's
the world
exactly
that
it.
I explore. Yeah,
That's exactly it. I mean, I can reflect on my own childhood and it was kind of like, you know, one of the reasons I learned how to lie was because I didn't want to get in trouble as a kid.
totally.
Because getting in trouble meant that I was going to get punished.
Yep.
It didn't mean, what it didn't mean was, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation and help you understand what went wrong here, what you could have done differently. And yeah, there's going to be a consequence, but we're going to approach this in a compassionate, kind way with some boundaries and some better understanding because you're a kid growing up. No, it was, you're grounded, you might get beat, you're definitely going to get yelled at.
Yep.
And the overall lesson is don't do anything to rock the boat.
Hmm.
And what I see is then how this does, like you said, how it spills out into the world in general. It's like, oh, okay, as a man, what do I do? And as a person, what do I do to navigate life so that I'm never in trouble, so that I never rock the boat? I never bring up the things that need to be brought up. I never do the
Hmm.
things that are going to make somebody else unhappy. And I think that it directly contributes to that nice guy, people-pleasing, codependent behavior that I see in so many men and that I've embodied at one time in my
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. One of the other ways it manifests is what, regardless of how we think that we're acting, when we do act out of our own integrity or cause someone harm, like violate someone's consent without even thinking about it in a sexual interaction, or just, I don't know, steamroll over someone in a conversation, or act really, really rudely to someone, then what we are trained to do is deny, obfuscate, hide, deflect, right? If we're lucky enough to be confronted with it, if we're lucky enough for someone to actually come up with us, and there's actually no good word in the English language for this action of someone saying you've hurt me. It's not confrontation. What the only word we have is accusation, which is really, really combative. But like if we've received this knowledge from someone of like, oh, like I have like been in the world in such a way that like I've caused harm and it's important to us and I believe it's important to the vast majority of humans not to cause undue harm in the world, right? Not to just right to be a contribution in the world, to be a gift to the people around. Um, then we've trained ourselves to get out of accountability in any way possible, right? That's the real getting out of trouble that I see um, is deny. I call it the four horsemen of the apocalypse is denial, deflection, diminishment, right?
What's
Um,
the fourth one?
oh God, denial, deflection, uh, diminishment, and I'm gonna come up with it in a second, but now I can't remember. But but the um oh, defensiveness, which is
Defense.
the kind of overarching one. And
Right.
defensive, right? We defend. And it's like I learned this one time in a I was taking a like a personal growth course for like a week, and I showed up late for one of the sessions when like because it was a personal growth coaching course, we'd all had to sign a little agreement saying like we're going to show up on time, right? Which meant that I was out of integrity. I just was, but I didn't have the skills at that point. This was almost a decade ago of being with my own out of integrityness, right? And the coach, like I walked into to the seminar room late, and the teacher, just pointed it out. They were like, "Mischa, you're late," and I was like, "Well, it's only 5 minutes," and they were like, "Yeah, but you're late, right?" And it was like, "Yeah, yeah, but like, but like this other guy was late too." Yeah, but you're late. Yeah, but like, what's the big deal? Like, does like it feels like it's like you're totally distracting the whole course. I mean, like we're here to like learn these skills, and now you're do you see, right? Like I'm wiggling my way out of it. So like, how can I get out of this, right? Like it's so uncomfortable. And then she just made me sit with it. Just be like the class was silent, all the eyes were on me, and she was just like, be with it. You're late. And I had a revelation in that moment, and I had
Mm,
my feet on the floor, and I was like, oh yeah, I was late. I broke my agreement and just was with it. I was just with it. And I was like, oh, this is the gift that I'm here to give. This eventually became the gift that I'm here to give. And that moment, what I realized was like, this was just a huge deal for me to learn this. And then I realized, oh, I'm not really in trouble either, right? What I have associated with being in trouble is just being called out for being out of integrity. But like, is it like, am I getting like slapped? Am I being put in the dunce corner with a little cap? Like, no. Like, am I being kicked out of the class? No. There's no even consequences, let alone punishment. I'm not in trouble. I'm just being invited to sit with the fact that I was late.
mm,
Ah,
mm,
and that's a skill.
hmm.
And if I'm good at anything, it's by fucking up so much in my life and having the luck to be exposed to really cool teachers about integrity and accountability that I have developed the skill of accepting the reality of where I've been out of integrity and owning it fully without excuses or deflection. And that's one of the skills that I impart on my clients. And it's like it's such a like a dope ass leadership skill, a life skill. It's something that everybody can learn. It's certainly not gendered. Like nobody in our society is particularly good at accountability. Like all of us try to wriggle out regardless of our gender or our genitals, like so it is such a dope skill and it's really underdeveloped, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You know, the thought that went through my head as you were sharing that story is saying to myself was, "You're not alone."
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, like I'm just thinking to myself, like, "Hey, I'm not alone. Like, guess what? I have these same things. I have totally fucked up. I've made these mistakes. I've been out of integrity. And hey, how reassuring it is on a somatic body level to feel that and to just feel that shift in, like, oh." Yeah, I'm not alone. Like this is just a very real human experience to have, and there can be grace with it. There can be compassion, there can be learning and growth and yes, there can be that uncomfortable feeling of trying to wriggle out and knowing that like really at the end of the day, like
Uh,
even if I can wriggle out for a time at some point, at some point I'm not going to be able to wriggle away.
and there's so many benefits to living a right. I call it living a life of accountability as a practice, like accountability as like a life practice or even a lifestyle, right? Of like I have all these tools and techniques to like check myself of like when I'm out of like am I in integrity? What about my day or what about my past week or past year where was I out of integrity? Where do I need repair? Where do I need to and not just repair with others, right? Again, that's like more getting out of trouble shit. So much of what I see in the repair world and of people like apologizing and like, well, I apologized to her, right? That's not about integrity often, right? Most people's apologies aren't about their own integrity and they're not about their own accountability. And they're definitely not about themselves being in the world in a more aligned or balanced way. It's about getting out of trouble,
Yeah. Well,
right?
one of the
It's like I
experiences.
apologize so that you could get off my fucking back. I apologize so you'll forgive me. I apologize so you'll stop yelling at me. I apologize so I can say I apologize. And now it's your fault for not forgiving me.
I think one of the experiences that I have that brought that home
Please.
was on a men's weekend. It was actually the first weekend I ever went through, and it was through the New Warrior Training Adventure. And without sharing too much for people who haven't gone through, I will just say there is an accountability process. And I was in front of a room full of other men.
Mm,
I was the third man who had stood up, and I shared how I had cheated on my wife and how the marriage had come to an end and all the shame and the guilt that I felt. And sharing this, and the leader pauses me and he says, so you're feeling the impact on you. He's like, but what about the impact on her? What about the
mhm,
impact on the other people? And that's when it really hit me. Like,
mm,
oh, I hadn't felt that. I
mm.
hadn't really fully acknowledged that. And yeah, here's all the impacts. Here's all the ways that this showed up and impacted this other person, these other and the people around us that I hadn't been willing to claim or take responsibility for.
Or even feel,
Or
allow
even
yourself to
feel,
feel.
or even feel, right? Yeah, or even feel like you're
And
exactly
that
right.
feeling is not just empathy, it's the discomfort of your own guilt and shame at the same time, right? It's like a cocktail of like, oh, like right that we avoid.
Yeah, exactly. It was just that cocktail. It was just like that. Ooh, like, oh, wow, I'm really feeling this. But it was interesting too because after having gone through all that, it also allowed me to grieve in a different way than I had for that relationship. It allowed me to grieve for a lot of different things. It allowed me to accept it from a different place because I was finally allowing myself to feel all of that and be like, wow, here's where all this came down to. And instead of blaming other people or putting it on my past, it was like, no, this is just this is just a really shitty experience that you did.
Yeah. You regained, if I can be so bold, you regained a piece of your humanity in that moment, brother.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's a huge part of what this work is really about. You know, we it's regaining our humanity, our ability to connect with other people relationally.
Yeah. 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 It's this huge, huge missing piece in like our kind of overarching conception of life and reality and relationship and existence, you know? People talk about accountability like it's about saying sorry, or they talk about integrity like it's about conforming to laws. But accountability and integrity are just very imperfect kind of Western words in the way, or at least the way I hold it, for this this sense of what you experienced in that moment when you were prompted to think, right, of what you might use words like balance in the right, like, oh, I can feel a like almost like a wholeness, a rightness, like in it's very uncomfortable. Like I feel shame, I feel guilt, I feel like a lot of uncomfortable empathy and like oh like the awfulness of like, oh, I can't believe I did that, or like oh, that person I loved, oh, I really don't want to walk in her like I'm thinking about what her experience was, but not, oh, I have to think about that part of it. Oh, but that's all just so good and right for the human experience, for like the part of being in this body and in this soul and on this planet, being connected to each other.
Yeah.
Accountability is a kind of like a path to, it's almost prayer. It's like a pathway to enlightenment, to soul deliverance. It's also, not for nothing, I imagine, an instrumental part of your own self-actualization, of your own growth path. Like so much of the skeletons in our closet are the things that are holding us back. They are the things that like are preventing us from being out there in the world because we're really, really afraid to, like if we're out there in the world, then we're gonna get called on that shit from our past, or they're they're contributing to the stories that we tell ourselves about why we're bad and that we then recreate in our subsequent relationships.
Well, that's exactly it, right? One of the themes of sovereign submission is how do I take sovereignty of my own life so that I can fully surrender to the experience of being in touch with my deepest desires and wants and everything else in a way that is clean and clear as opposed to operating in shadow.
Uh,
So, like when I look at it from a place of sovereignty, it's like, well, do I really want to carry this forward into other relationships? Do I want to continue to repeat these patterns? Or is this going to be something where I'm going to actually take the ownership and transform the way that I show up in this world? It's easy to repeat old patterns. They're comfortable, even in
It's
the
scary, isn't it?
discomfort.
Right? It's
Yeah,
scarily easy. Even after you've been like, right, okay, cheated, that was bad. It was societally says it's bad. I feel it's bad. It's out of my integrity. It clearly caused a lot of harm. Cheating, very bad. Won't do that again. Get into another relationship. What happens? You cheat again. Well, I don't know if that's true for you, but I've seen it. Right? And the reason is because what you did with the guilt and the shame and even the empathy wasn't actually accountability,
yeah.
right? Because accountability demands, and this is what I do, the work that I do with my clients, which involves going very, very deep, is way deeper than, first of all, guilt or innocence, and is way deeper than like a
Slap on the
admonition to
wrist.
self, never do that
Yeah.
same thing again. Very bad, right? Right? What are you doing to prevent yourself from cheating? Well, I promise never to cheat again. No, you have to understand, like, what were the things in me that made me cheat? What are the stories that I use to rationalize cheating? Sorry to use you. I'm going to
I
move
have
away
no
from your
problem. Well, no,
generic,
I don't have
right?
any problem
But,
with it. It's
right.
true.
Okay. But like, I didn't ask your permission or
Yeah,
anything, but like,
yeah.
thank you for being cool with it. Right. But like the narratives in my head that said that like, well, like I'm not getting what I need at home, or life's too short, like I deserve it, or this is what real love feels like, or she can't handle it, or it'll be better for her if I don't tell her, or this is actually how to preserve our relationship. I mean, who knows? Like I've seen every manner of rationalization that you could possibly imagine to justify um really heinous shit, you know? And
Well, and that's just it. We come up with all kinds of reasons. So until we unearth
oh yeah.
those,
So
until we
until
bring
we've
back
like
the
dismantled
shadow,
that,
yeah.
right? That's one part. Another part is like, have we developed not just a relationship with our shadow or a relationship with our integrity, which is, I keep on saying very squishy terms, I'm saying, but like, here's what it looks like to develop a relationship with your integrity in a very concrete, practical way. Do you have processes that you adhere to daily, weekly, monthly, where you're checking in with yourself? Maybe it's I have an integrity coach. I have like I actually have an accountability process that I do regularly with my therapist. I have a self honesty journaling practice. I go to a men's group, and at some point we always do an accountability check in of like, where am I out of integrity in my life? Do I have, right? Those are like actual processes, like scaffolding to keep yourself in integrity, so that like little mistakes don't become giant habitual mistakes, so that you don't start extending, well, I cheated on her once, well, like, god, I've been cheating on her for 10 years. It's like, like the lies, the betrayal, right? Or and not just so that you can prevent yourself from doing more harm in a repeated way, but so that you can prevent yourself from building up the habit of thinking that your integrity doesn't matter. That,
Mm,
right, that's what really we do, right? When
mm,
we've sworn off alcohol but we start drinking again, we just make sure to do it in secret so that we don't actually have to be confronted by anybody.
hmm
You know, we don't go to the AA meetings, but we don't go and lie. We just don't go, right? We find ways, and like this is where we're really messing ourselves up unnecessarily, right? And that's why right, we're developing the habit of like I don't of not even trusting our own word. Like I don't actually trust ourselves. We say we're going to do a thing, but we don't really believe it even as we're saying it.
Yeah,
This is like a very, very, very bad, dangerous way to be in the world. You got
it
to be
is.
trustworthy.
It is very, I mean, it kind of brings to mind something one of the, one of the ethos from Uncivilized, which is be a danger, not dangerous. The idea
Hmm.
being that, okay, dangerous is exactly what you described, as opposed to danger where it's like, oh, okay, I know like I can handle myself in this situation. I know what I'm capable of. It doesn't mean it has to come out sideways or anything else, but that like I know. Like as a martial artist, I can say this, for example, like I know how to
Absolutely.
hurt somebody if I need to.
Yeah.
But
Deep, deep
I'm
respect for that.
but I'm also deeply confident and comfortable in myself that I won't ever have to take it to that point because I also know how to handle it in other ways.
Yeah.
Whereas if I didn't have that training, I could throw a fist at somebody and hurt them and be lashing out because,
Yep.
and it is the same thing. Like there's that interesting aspect of, okay, well, and here's this little piece of shadow that's operating and saying, yeah, you can you can go ahead and get away with this. No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
know.
Totally. And as I mean, man, so much of my shadow was about like conceiving of myself as a nice, peaceful, good person and not actually engaging with the deep-seated resentments I had towards women, like the guilt and shame I had for the way that I was raised and brought up with privilege and the kind of like I hadn't wrestled with the privileges that I was raised with, and those came out sideways in relationship and sometimes in really, really harmful ways. And yeah, like you just pointed to another really important skill for keeping yourself in integrity and like actually very making it like making all this concrete because I noticed with podcast interviews I could often get very, very squishy or airy. Do you have a practice of examining your own shadow? Are you able to name some of the shadows, right? Like for me, whoo, vanity, big one, you know? A big sense of like I'm a failure as a man is one of the I have to keep on like coming back to like we all have shadow. Like how like intimate you are you with your own shadow? How familiar are you? Can you dance with that shadow in a way that like involves setting up mitigation for it, right? Here's another one. Big, big lover energy in me, right? To use the classic masculine archetypes, which means I run the I can run hedonistic and I can also run addicted. You know, I'm almost 4.5 years sober and drug free. Like, there's a reason, because I used quite intensely, um, and that's me knowing my own shadow and finding a good way to navigate it and dance with it without being ashamed about it, right? Like, I'm not also encouraging shame or some sort of story that I'm bad or dangerous, right? Or that like I am an addict, or I mean, some people find that empowering. Like I'm reticent to encourage people to take on identities, especially identities um, that revolve around the worst things I've ever done. You're a wife beater, you're a rapist, you're a child molester, you're a cheater, right? Take very, very, very dangerous territory for yourself, right? To take on those things as identity,
Yeah, well,
right?
and I
We
mean
are
we have a
multi
choice. We have
we are multi
choices.
yeah, and in our society, especially around like the harms, we tend to paint people as like this is who you are. You are the worst thing you've ever done. That's
Yeah.
who you are. And it's not for nothing. It's one of the things that makes women less safe in
Yeah.
this world. Because if men are the worst things I've ever done, then none of them are going to take accountability for that little consent violation because that makes them a rapist for life. So they're not going to own it when they were a little pushy in bed with their girlfriend of 2 years. They're never, they're going to deny and obfuscate and hide because to do anything else makes them a rapist for life, right? And I see that all the time. And of course, that makes women less safe because the men around them don't know how to own it. They don't know how to take accountability. They don't know actually how to like mitigate some of their more intense or harmful tendencies in bed. And I see this particularly. Um, and it is actually, ironically, that kind of like, well, we don't tolerate rapists here. We don't, is actually making the world less safe because we don't accommodate or have space to accommodate the reality that a lot of us have darkness in our sexualities. And that the
Yeah.
way to like actually make sure that our sexualities are not dangerous is to have space for us to fuck up and space and the skills to own it well without it being escalated to like, and therefore, like, we need to get the cops, the lawyers, the everything else involved. Just, but yeah, that's one of the big things I've seen, Taylor. If that's interesting or useful to you, is we don't have a way of describing intimate harm, like intimate harm in relationship, other than crime.
That is very useful. I think that that's a really relevant point to make,
Like, just think
because
about all the ways that we harm people.
yeah,
Right? Cheating is actually a wonderful example. Like, cheating is not technically what like a crime, right? Like, I'm not a lawyer, but like, but it's understood as like a bad, right?
yeah,
But like, we don't actually have the words to describe when like, right? If I touch a woman's back and she didn't really want it, like that's assault. Oh yeah, yeah, right. And that's what's a crime, right? Like, we don't really have a space. And I'm not like this, like I'm not critiquing the law necessarily or society, but I'm wanting to point out to your listeners just how inadequate our societal conceptions of justice are to deal with your own accountability journey in the world.
hmm
Because what you'll find is that for a lot of things, you like a lot of times when you're confronted with what you've done, you will be avoiding accountability because you don't want to be accused of crimes. You don't want to be accused of being right, and especially in today's world where everybody is afraid of being canceled, right? Everybody, right? Regardless of how powerful they are. You get a bunch of men in the world and say, "What are you most afraid of sexually?" It'll be like it's not. Sometimes it's I'm afraid that I will like hurt a woman in sex, or like my anger or rage will come out and I'll choke or you know be predatory in some way. But a lot of them are just going to say, "I'm afraid of being fully authentic in bed because I don't want her to have that story. I don't want her to spread it around that I'm bad and predatory, especially if I get really intense or I'm deeply authentic in bed and then we end up breaking up." Like, I don't, right? We all don't want to be perceived as dangerous. It's not a, right? Like there's a good question about being a danger of dangerous. There's also a big question of like our fear of being perceived as dangerous.
hmm
And in the
yeah,
age of social media cancellations and, the speed with which rumor can spread, it's really, really common, right? Like, I mean, you've been in the men's circles with me in Sacred Sons. Every single Sacred Sons retreat, there's at least one or two guys who are saying, I broke up with a woman and now she's spreading rumors about me that I'm abusive and harmful. And I really don't think I am, but like, that's everybody's fear. That's what, everybody's got. I've seen
yeah.
this, right?
Oh, and I mean, I've seen it as well, where men are like, well, yeah, yeah, like I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I broke up with this person and now things are going sideways and they're saying this and I'm saying that and there's no space for like a conscious uncoupling or a an acknowledgement of, okay, here's where there was harm that was done and here's a way that we can find some repair around it.
Sure.
And yeah, it gets very scary,
Yep.
because it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
and it is a hard thing. I mean, I remember the last relationship that I was in to this one, previous to the one I'm in now, like where it took me a while to get to a point where I could acknowledge and take responsibility for some things that I had done.
Sure.
Where and it happened after actually going to the first remembrance event. At the end of that event, I'd gone there and it had been really good for me to be in a co-gendered space because it was like, okay, this is the first time I'm in a co-gendered, men and women space. And I was able to do some work around some things. And I came out of it and I was able to have a conversation that needed to be had with, the ex, and to just take some responsibility for some things that felt like in a very good and real way, like what was needed. And I think that what I learned out of that experience was just like, it is possible to take responsibility and to come away with a sense of, okay, I've taken responsibility. Like I have acknowledged the harm. I have acknowledged that there was this thing here. And it doesn't have to be something where then it's held over my head for the rest of my life by myself or by someone else.
Sometimes. And
Sometimes.
I'm gonna push not push back, but I'm gonna give two important caveats, which is A,
Please.
accountability, or rather not accountability, but like like repair or like apology and ownership, that part of accountability, that journey with another person of saying I cheated on you. Yes, you're not crazy. I cheated on you and I lied to you about it. I betrayed your trust. That's a risk.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And good repair, honestly, and good accountability is always a risk, you know? Like there's always a little bit of a risk that that person is going to weaponize it against you and that person is going to fucking like hold it over your head for the rest of your life or that it is going to get out to your community and everyone's going to think that you're an abuser and everyone's going to have that story about you or whatever. Like, yup.
It is a risk.
I just want to like really be straightforward about this. Like there is no like perfect safe way. I've just found the perfect like woke nonviolent communication language to like make it safe to like take ownership and accountability after you're fucked. Nope. After you're
Well, and
fucked up,
and
like but like I'm not saying that because you were saying it's safe. I'm saying that like it's actually good that it should be a risk. It's right. If you're feeling that like oh God. And there are times where it's like a man or my client will be like, it's just, I'm not like it, like he might say it's unsafe to apologize to this woman because I just know that she's going to weaponize it against me. And they might be right. And I wouldn't say like maybe unsafe is too judgmental a word, but like but what they're really saying is like, I have assessed these risks and I'm just not willing. I'm not willing to take accountability if it means taking that particular risk, right? If I raise my hand and say I raped someone, say, right? Because that's the way she's holding it. She's using that word. Then maybe 10 years from now, I've been married to someone and now we've gotten kids and actually now we're getting divorced. Like her divorce lawyer can use that admission that 10 years ago with a different woman against me and demonstrate that I'm an irresponsible person. Like it follows you in our litigious society. Every admission that you make, especially if you're powerful or wealthy or a leader or influential in any way, it has a huge risk of following you and everything is recorded and like every so so yes, it is risky. It is risky in our litigious, judgmental, carceral justice, punitive, labeling, gossipy ass world to own anything. Like very few of our leaders take accountability. It's risky. It's risky.
it absolutely is risky.
So like
Yeah.
so I just want to like acknowledge that.
Yeah, it is.
I
I
also I'd
agree with you on
also
that one.
I also there's a second point, which is that I don't want to be gender essentialist and I'm not yeah, I'm bisexual and whatever. Like if if it's a between if like I'm making a call for action, the call for action is not, hey, women, subs, bottoms, and receivers, be nicer to us when we fuck up. The call to action is, hey, tops, hey, doms, hey, men, be better at doing accountability, be better at proactively doing accountability. And the world will follow that example. It should start with us.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
should start with us.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it is. I mean, I think both of those things are important to acknowledge that yes, it is a risk. And there is something to be just said for being a lot more proactive. I mean, this is one of the reasons why some of the work that I do in the communities that I work in is around having the hard conversations.
Hmm.
Like I can have a conversation in my head all day with the projection of you, and that's not having the conversation with you. That's just having the conversation in my head.
Mhm.
Or I can make the brave choice to have a proactive conversation and say, this is really weighing on my heart right now. I mean, there's still a reaction, a response, whatever, but I can
Yeah.
say, this is something that's really weighing on my heart, or this is something that I really want, or something like that. And it doesn't mean I automatically get it,
Right.
but wow, what a difference it can make when people can say, oh, I chose to have the conversation instead. And yeah, it
Yeah.
was scary and there were a few moments of tenseness and everything else, but we came out the other side okay with each other because we were in contact.
Often, often the answer is vulnerable, honest conversation, even if it's imperfect, even if you start it more accusatory than would have been ideal, or you start it more defensive than would have been ideal, like demonstrating that you're willing to engage in the conversation. I've also seen like the general normative to like just talk about it can backfire because sometimes we're really not ready. A lot of what I do is get my clients ready to have a conversation that won't make it actively worse, right? And this is really important. Like sometimes having the conversation or shit, even apologizing will make it worse. I cannot tell you. I'm talking about 80, 90% of my client situations involve having like like the client situation involved at some point that the person who did the harm originally making that harm actively worse and actually blowing up the conflict by apologizing badly, right? It wasn't like, well, hey, he apologized. It's like a good start. It's like, nope. It was like, nope. That actually made it worse. That traumatized me deeper. That that actually blew up the drama so that now it's about our entire community. So like apologizing badly or not, and there's so many ways. It's a huge part of what I teach, can actually make things worse. So there is skill here. I really like, I don't want to scare anybody away. Like reach for accountability, in your own life in the best way you can. But like there is a real skill that isn't taught well, right? And just to give you an example, I'm sorry you feel that way. Ugh. Harm was done, ugh, you know? Or even like I'm sorry for not loading the dishwasher when I said I was going to load the dishwasher. Ugh, I know, yeah, right? Like, right? Because the tone is really resentful,
You
right?
know,
I
one of
mean,
the
there's
things,
so many ways to apologize badly or more harmfully. Yeah. Anyway.
one of the skills that I've actually found that I think is really relevant to this
Mm.
is the skill of knowing when not to say something in a conversation and actually be silent and really just let something be felt and experienced without trying to fill it in with words.
Yes.
Like some of the hardest conversations I've had have had less speaking and more silence and allowing that to happen, like, and not trying to fill in the silence with words, but to just let the silence speak in and of itself to
Mm.
both people.
I love that. Letting the silence speak. Yeah. Yes. 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 God. And I'm not like an expert on like conflict resolution in intimate partnership necessarily. Like my expertise is about the journey of ownership. Like doing deep relational repair is something that I've got. Like, anyway, it's just it's its own area, and there's a bunch of amazing therapists and everybody who are teaching people how to do repair really well. Um, but yeah, the piece of accountability and like actually doing the emotional work first to own what's there for you to own. I call it preemptive emotional labor, right? Or even like it's like doing emotional labor on spec. Like she hasn't told you that you have to. but maybe just do it on spec, do it ahead of time. Take a walk in her shoes, imagine how she might have felt. Uh, you know, think about where you were out of integrity and kind of like develop the language to like own it for you and like actually examine that. Do all that before you jump in and be like, you're upset with me. Tell me what's wrong. It's like, maybe if you take an hour to figure it out, like you might have been able to do that whole conversation with way less drama.
Yeah, wow, and I mean also being comfortable with the idea that a conversation might last longer
Yeah.
than, like having a conversation over the course of several days. But
Mm.
how often do we as a society or in relationships really do that? Most people don't.
Oh,
It's, oh,
it's
I
uncomfortable.
want to get out of this. I want to
It's
solve this.
crunchy.
Right. It's
We don't
crunchy.
want to be in it. It sucks. It
Yeah.
sucks to be in conflict. It sucks to have someone mad at you. It sucks to be mad at someone, right? It sucks to have that whole thing where I'm still mad at you because you hurt me, but yeah, you've said the words I'm sorry, and so now I'm like resentful at you because it's clear that you expect me to be cool with it. But like I rushed, or like you rushed the conversation and be like, oh, like you sorry real quick, and like I haven't even processed all the ways that it hurt me or that it impacted me or that I'm mad at you, and now you're just like clearly just wanting to be out of the discomfort of having been wrong, and so you said I'm sorry and want to move forward, but like actually I don't want to, but I kind of need to stay in this discomfort of still being maybe not upset you, but still being impacted by it. And just because you said sorry doesn't mean I'm not impacted by it. I mean, like, ugh, so much there. And we're just bad at it. And my invitation to your listeners is just, invite yourself to develop this as a skill. Invite yourself to think about this as like a real way of being. Oh, and here's the way to practice it, by the way. You don't need to sign up for any fucking course or coach with me. Practice apologizing incredibly thoroughly for your tiniest mistakes.
Hmm.
Practice, seriously, just practice it. You could even say, hey, I'm like doing this thing where I'm practicing, like really taking the time to um, own and take accountability for when I've fucked up, even in tiny ways. And just think about, like, oh, like, okay. Yeah, that time that like I was like 15 minutes late for that meeting, or like that I made it so that you had to like rearrange the timing for the kids' pickup last week, where like I said that I was going to, and then at the last minute I didn't, and then I said thank you, but I didn't really acknowledge the impact on you. I mean, just even these tiny little moments of impact on other people are all opportunities for you to really experiment with how you hold accountability and how you are able to hold empathy for other people's experience, and practice, just practice. And you'll see literally like dozens and dozens over the course of the next few months, little opportunities. And literally that's a practice that I hold in my life. Like I'm quite deliberate with like small things in my life. Just an invitation.
Yeah. No. Well, I first of all, I appreciate everything that we've discussed here. This has been a very rich and nuanced conversation, and that's
Thanks, man.
that's the way we like to go
That's why we
on
like
these interviews.
it.
So where can people find out more about you and
Sure.
learn more about you and where you are in the interwebs and
On the
elsewhere?
interwebs, find me at evolve.men. Evolve.men. And you can find me at, yeah, go. That's the easiest URL to remember. But I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn. Sorry, I don't do any posting on LinkedIn. I should, but I don't. On uh, Instagram and YouTube. And I'm gonna be launching a Substack, but right now, follow me on Instagram.
Okay.
You know, like I give all kinds of useful tidbits and tools and tricks there. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
I definitely see
moving into
you.
longer form content for all that because there's demand for it. But yeah.
Yeah.
And if you know someone who you think would really benefit from working with me, or if you yourself are realizing, oh shit, like these are some of the skills that I'd like to develop, um, it's a very personal process I've found. You know, it's a very and I customize my engagements very, very delicately with each individual person. It's a real relationship that I engage in with my clients. So um, feel free to reach out.
Mhm. And then I have a final question I ask all of my guests, and
Yeah,
it's what is a word or a phrase of wisdom that you would like us to carry forth with us into the day moving forward?
sure. Um, the soft skills are the hard skills.
Mm, mm-hmm.
All that squishy stuff that we've been told are like not like coding or whatever, like how to apologize or how to navigate human interaction or how to notice the impact that you've had on others or how to uh, create like all that squishy stuff. Like what I was taught in prep school and Ivy League college was like not that important. Ugh, God, that's the hard stuff. That's the skills that let you become a leader and become successful. God, I wish I'd known that.
Yeah, I hear you on that, brother. Hmm. Well, Misha, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. This has been fun, and
Yeah. Thank you
for
for
all,
having me. This was
yeah,
fun.
and for all those of you out there, this is why we have these conversations. This is part of the whole exploration of our sovereignty.
Mm.
Regardless of what you identify as sexually, gender-wise, anything like that, we all have sovereignty, but to claim that sovereignty means that we have to be willing to look at all the areas that we've abandoned it with ourselves and with others.
Yes.